boy.
Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Apologies for running late. I was just locked in playing Zelda. I was just questing, just like a madman. It's crazy when you're in the zone.
My kid got a new game
Exploring Hyrule
for his birthday. It was a new Sonic the Hedgehog game. He loves Sonic, but it switches from like side scroll to like 3D and like turns. It's like a lot. It's almost too much for me. Like my wife can't even play Mario Kart because she gets sick to her stomach. Like she can't see this. It's fun. It's fun though. How are you all on this Wednesday? I was gonna say we'll give you some time to matriculate in, but we did give you some time. We'll get after it. 14 games this week, and also Drew, my world was rocked this morning, and so you got made fun of for this too. Wife went over vacation plans for next year. At her hospital, she has to pick her vacation time 9 months in advance, which week she wants off.
Wow.
It's tough. It makes it tricky, but it makes planning easier because you're planning way ahead. And we talked about places to go, a bunch of different options last night. And then this morning, I had Spotify on the way to the driving to school with the kids. I had like Journey, I think, just like good upbeat classic rock. And Kokomo came on, and everybody loves Kokomo.
The Beach Boys.
Everyone knows all the words to that. And I'm like, and I had this tweet in mind, and I'm like, it's going to be like not a banger, but it's going to be a funny, snarky tweet. I'm like, you know what? Out of all the people I've ever seen on vacation, nobody ever goes to fucking Kokomo. I Googled it. It was like today I learned not a real place. I'm glad I didn't.
Kokomo is not a real place?
Okay, I thought maybe I was.
What?
Late.
No, It is a real place. It's in like the Keys, isn't it?
No, made up. They made it up. It's a state of mind, baby.
Why would they name check all real places and then make up the one the song is about?
Because it fucking rhymes with "wanna go." I don't know.
Montego rhymes too.
I know. I know.
What?
But yeah, Kevin,
crazy.
Kevin Kyogo made fun of you. He's like, well, if it was a real place, we'd have pictures of Drew drinking. From someplace. I'm like, that is fair. So I'm still kind of recovering from the shock of that. Then where did they film the video? Yeah, I haven't seen that episode. Scrubs was one of those shows that you didn't like sit down and like, oh, I gotta see the new episode of Scrubs this Thursday night. But like everybody's seen a bunch of Scrubs because it's just on. So I guess I missed that. I missed that one, or I would have been better informed. Other than that, I'm having a good week. I took my first cold shower.
Yeah. There is a place called Kokomo Beach in Curacao. That's not it?
See, I think they named it after that.
They named it
after the song. There's a shitty dirt track in Indiana called Kokomo. A hot water heater went out, and it was like a part they couldn't get, and I really just needed a shower. So this is the opportunity to try the cold shower. Fuck, dude, it sucks. It's the worst fucking thing I've ever done in my life. It takes your breath away. Like you're gasping for air. My wife could hear me in the other room gasping. She's like, I must give a check on you. Not at all.
So yeah, the lyrics talk about it being off the Florida Keys. Curacao is not off the Florida Keys, so that doesn't check out. Wow,
the geography. We can do a whole episode about the whole geography of this.
It is a fictional place. Okay, fascinating.
All
right, well,
itching my back there.
The kind of the most fun recent show I watched was on Apple TV. I know we were talking about Apple TV. The Vince Vaughn show, Bad Monkey, was quite good.
Is it good?
It fizzled at the very, very end, but the first 8 episodes were just quite enjoyable. And Vince Vaughn, I haven't seen him flex like that, his comedic muscles like that in a while, and he was pretty excellent. But it's all kind of takes place between the Florida Keys and the Bahamas, and the place that they're mostly in the Bahamas seems like that's what a stand-in for Kokomo would be. It all kind of makes sense. So okay.
So that was a dream of mine for a while. I think I was reading too many Hemingway biopics. I wanted to get like a cabin cruiser and just like live down there. It's not as easy when you grow up and have kids.
Oh, you'll like Bad Monkey then.
I'm like, God, I could just be like that guy. Well, and I'd read that Rum Diaries, and like I just had too much Caribbean content for a while. Montgomery, before we get into the games,
aren't you going soon? Like in a week.
What?
When are you going? Aren't you going to the Caribbean in like a week?
Oh no, beginning of December.
Oh, so like 3 weeks.
And apparently it is a Disney cruise. And I don't want to shill for somebody, but they do an excellent job of customer service. Like I've never had a bad 5 minutes on those boats. I've been on a few. Apparently they own a second private island, which it's almost like, like when let's say, you're in the 50s and you were hired as a junior associate, they would say, we're grooming him for a VP spot.
Of course.
Grooming has gotten a nasty, the word just isn't used the same way anymore.
No.
Same thing with private island. It's kind of gotten a negative connotation.
Yeah, it's been spoiled.
I think I'm going to go to Nassau too, so it's going to be fun. Hopefully the internet's good so we can do some content.
All right.
The Penguin is excellent. I haven't watched the final one. I'm probably doing that tonight.
Ooh.
And yes, we will start with kind of a fucking banger on Thursday.
Yeah, we will. And I think we disagree on this one because I saw your power ratings go out via the Deep Dive newsletter. If you're not a subscriber, I don't know what you're doing. It's free, guys. The power ratings from Andy disagree on my thoughts on this game. Are you going to play the Washington Commanders? Have you already played the Washington Commanders? You're getting 3.5 points for a team that you would make better than the Eagles.
It's tough because those are just, it's tough to reconcile this because I say those are raw ratings. And a lot of it is just based on offense. And then I have to make adjustments for injuries. I hadn't changed anything for Mailata. I have to make adjustments for matchups. And this is just like a nightmare matchup. Even if you do think you're getting some improvements from the Washington defense. Mm-hmm. Like my year-long numbers are showing my biggest delta in like a run offense versus a run defense is Philly versus Washington.
Okay.
And then, the same thing for, God, what was it? The other one too. Basically, like it's a really bad matchup for Washington defensively, and they're going to have to hang with them. Where I do believe if you like Washington, you almost would be better just taking like their team total over or the over. So I know you're getting 3.5. I know my numbers disagree with it, but I don't always just bet straight off the numbers, my raw ratings. I do look at the matchups. I start to, think of game states, how these teams play in most likely game states, where this game's going to end up being. And I think it is going to be Philly winning by a small margin, but it's, somewhere in the 2 to 6 range. Feels like Philly by less than a touchdown. I understand that maybe there should be a little value on 3.5. I like it, but like I said, I am maybe more interested in just betting on Washington scoring some points here. This total has come down a little. So this look ahead.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If 50, I tend to disagree a little.
Ooh. Oh, well, we were way on different pages.
I know. I just disagree with how Philly will probably act on offense in either game state. Even if they are in a leading game state, I don't think it's going to slow down. Just looking at the pace stuff, looking at their success rates, it just doesn't seem like, hey, we're going to go into run mode and that's going to slow things down. Like, that might just move the ball even better.
Interesting. Okay. Because I could definitely see a game state where with a 6-point lead in the fourth quarter, Philly has like a 10-minute drive that ends the game. like they just nibble, first down, nibble, first down, and it's over. My fair on this one is 4.1. My total is 47.8. This is the biggest home field advantage that I would give any team all season long. and it is because it is the Link in primetime on a short week.
Yeah.
Do not
Link at night, man.
Do not feel good about Washington and a rookie quarterback in that type of environment. And I think the key question for this game in this handicap, I've laid Philly 3.5. Again, it's not he's small edge, but they're all small this time of year. Except one this week for me, which maybe I made a mistake. But small edge for me on Philly. And I guess the key question is, do you believe the advanced stats right now that Philadelphia is good, or do you that their defense is good? That Vic Fangio has figured out a way to utilize the pieces he's been given to coach this unit up to top 10 after how miserable they were last year. Do you think that it is more of a reflection of who they have played, which has been a big bag of nothing outside of Joe Burrow? And do you think that if this is sort of a prove it game for Philly and they keep Washington's offense in check, are the implications, the ramifications that Washington starts getting talked about as, they peaked too early and rookie wall for Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury's been solved and Dan Quinn can't take a lead, get a lead home. There's a lot of kind of reductive shortcuts I feel like could be made if Philly holds Washington to like say 17 points in this one, or just field goals. Like Washington's offense is starting to sputter in the red zone. And I think the offensive line being a bit banged up is not helpful. And Philly's, I'm sure you've heard a lot of it this week too. People are talking about Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell and the DP, the D-Roy combo as probably second and third, but they're talking about them and I don't know. Like, I guess how, your opinion on how real is the Philly D, and what are sort of the unraveling ramifications of this matchup?
So, and that's where I think there's maybe a disconnect in my power numbers. We talked about this in the summer. We talked about this as the season went on, how much I weigh an offense versus a defense. And I think maybe there's a tipping point where, I'm like 70-30 offense. But at a certain point, if a defense becomes really, really good at one thing or several things, it should almost be weighted differently. Because right now I have Washington as my third best offense and like my 25th best defense. Philly is my 10th best offense and my third best defense. And again, you can see what my power ratings say. It should be, it's basically like Washington is a better team. Washington, even if I give like over 2 points a home field, I'm still at like Philly -2 for this number before I build in the matchup stuff. Again, I'm gonna have to give them a little bump for this and that. And that's what I'm saying. I have such a high rating on this Philadelphia secondary right now and what they've done. And some of that is like, go look at the other games besides the Philly game that Joe Burrow's put in lately. Even without T. Higgins, like he is cooking.
Yeah, he's playing.
They limited him. I know the Jaguars game got a little weird late, but I mean they shut that offense down for quite a bit, and that was a team that was kind of seeing a little better quarterback play. So I think this Philly secondary is real, and it's probably just going to keep me off this game altogether.
Okay. Do you think there's anyone to bet in the rookie of the year category against Daniels, or has he done enough that even if he does have sort of an extended swoon here, I guess let's just say like they definitely have not clinched their playoff spot. Like they're in a very different spot here, holding on to a 6th seed in a wild card race with a bunch of good teams coming on hard. Like if they slide out of the playoffs
on some of those, what do you make their odds to make the playoffs, Drew?
I'll tell you, I'm still projecting them as an 11-win team. So I'm sure
that's the problem. I mean, that's the problem for me. Like you say that, but I'm
at 90%. But I feel 95. I feel like the fact that the goalposts have been moved on how good they are, and that if they have some step back issues, then there could be a stink on them that costs them some awards. All of the
still-
midseason awards they gave
Yeah.
two. They have been given. It's been decided. Daniels is your offensive rookie of the year, and Dan Quinn is your coach of the year. Basically, everyone that's doing columns and podcasts about midseason awards. They could certainly Dan Quinn and maybe Daniels could fumble the bag. I think.
I don't know that Daniels does unless he is like he's injured and he's done this week. It feels like it's too late for anybody else. I could see some flyers on some of these receivers that could have some big weeks, but with New York maybe going to Drew Lock. I don't know if that's a plus or a minus for Neighbors. Obviously Marvin is big, but you do lose some of his razzmatazz because everyone wants to pile on and give all the accolades to Kyler Murray right now. So I'm not sure the answer is because I don't think it's another quarterback. Nix and May have been good, but they're just not going to put up numbers. They're not going to put up big numbers that are wowing anybody or putting up these, highlight plays week after week. And they're just not going to, maybe Denver does, but New England's just not going to win very many games from here on out either. So it's tough for me to see any of the other quarterbacks do anything. And I mean, poor Caleb, with the amount of sack avoidance savvy he has or doesn't have, I guess is what I'm saying. And the fact that his offensive line is disbroken now, man, I don't think he has a shot in hell to, redeem himself from a stats and wins. Their schedule is so tough. That's the other part with Caleb. So I don't know who the case is. It's probably Marvin Harrison, and that's about it. Were you thinking there was a quarterback you could have got behind in this to fade this huge price?
May and Nix, I think. May and Nix. If May or Nix plays a second half of the season that's clearly better than Daniels does, and Daniels slides out of the playoff picture, I think it's possible. Man, I think you can rule out Bowers and basically every wide receiver.
I just can't see it with Nix. Like he's not what makes that offense move. It's the running game. He's not going to have stats to do it. People aren't going to be excited about him over Jaden. And then all the receivers, maybe Marvin, but he'd have to have some eye-popping games, and Daniels probably has to get hurt or lose. Arizona would have to win the division. And I mean, all the other good wide receivers are in such shitty positions now. You got Brian Thomas Jr. probably not only injured, but has a backup quarterback for at least right now.
Yeah. It's May or Nix coming in hot and getting the glory.
Yeah. May's just not that good.
No?
He's been better, but it's better than, go look at his numbers. He's not going to go have 300-yard games week after week. He's not going to have, these big runs like Daniels. It feels like it's probably over.
Okay. All right. Well, I played Philly. I'm counting on the crowd to really get it behind him in this one, and I'm very eyes wide open that this Philly defense could be for real. I'm kind of blown away that they're top 3 right now in EPA after you remove turnovers.
That's the very fun 10. Matchup tomorrow is a rookie quarterback on a short week versus what we believe to be a good pass rush and a good coverage unit. If he looks good, even in a loss, if he goes and puts up 24 points in a loss, then it's fucking over. Although there's the narrative around losing those games, and it does get a little dicier for the wild card, although they have an easier path than some teams. All right, Green Bay, Chicago.
Yeah. I didn't have. Do you have? Is it worth pointing out any injury stuff at all?
Mailata ruled in.
That's
essentially.
amazing.
They didn't
That's
say
a
that, I guess, but they activated him. That's obviously big. That's another adjustment I need to make to my Philly number. One man isn't worth a lot unless it's a one man who's very important on your O-line.
Okay.
Biadasz sounds like he's going in.
Okay.
Everyone else is limited. Brian Robinson sounds like he's good.
Yep, good. Lattimore out.
Yeah, Lattimore. They would have got
that would have been nice.
Two really good wide receivers that we haven't even mentioned yet. It would have been nice to have Lattimore here, but if his hamstring's fucked, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I guess like the defense looks like Philadelphia's defense looks like they've made the stamp of we're good now. Still has room to grow. Jalen Hurts is getting some buzz as he could be in the MVP conversation. He's going to need to play a hell of a lot better because he is not necessarily impressing me to this point.
That is one point I would like to give for Fangio. We've seen this many times, often multiple times a year, where a really good defensive coordinator or even, a really good head coach who's defensive minded, like, a certain long timer up in New England, where the defense looked like, oh, it regressed from last year. And then you get to week 8, 9, 10, and suddenly, he's a really good coach. And he figured out where the deficiencies were. He figured out where to put the pieces on the board to make the most out of who he has. He adjusted the scheme. It's going to be fine. This is a good defense again. Okay. So I do believe it's real in Philly.
Okay. Moving on to Sunday, Green Bay, Chicago is the first in rotation order. There has been some Chicago support here. They're down to 5. At one point, you could have bet Chicago +7. I agree with the directionality of the move. Did you bet +3?
That was my look ahead.
That was your look ahead?
I believed in that Chicago was going to fix things. The offensive line injury is just too much, man.
Well, guess what, man? My fair is -2.9. So I think your +3 has some EV, even though the market says 5. My total on this one is 43. So I'm over the total. I'm not entirely ready to quit on this Chicago offense. They obviously changed coordinators to Thomas Brown, who needs to prove himself to have a job next year. I would assume Caleb Williams is going through growing pains because he's a young quarterback. I don't know what people expected otherwise, but yeah, there is some doubt in a lot of people's minds that he's going to be the guy, which is not a great situation to be in 10 weeks into your professional career as the number 1 overall pick. He's not performing as badly as Bryce Young last year, so you got that going for you, Chicago fans. What is your current read on this game? I eventually passed because, again, I cannot in good conscience play Chicago until we get an idea of what their identity of the offense is. Even though my numbers say Green Bay is not good enough to be this big a chalk on the road.
I will take my time to talk about the the changes and the quotes. This seems like the grossest lame duck situation. It doesn't seem like Eberflus is long for this world of being the head coach of the Bears. And the quotes about Waldron were damning. This is a dysfunctional team right now, which stinks because Caleb looked good for a while. Some of the college football, film nicks and, the draft nicks who have spent a lot of time with Caleb in years past didn't love seeing him try to process complicated defenses. It seems like that huge jump downwards and his progression has been real. It's just been harder to differentiate how much of it is him struggling with defenses adjusting to what they've seen from him and how much is the offensive line being, 4/5 dead at this point. It's tough to get the bounce on Chicago for those reasons, but Waldron was bad enough that it's probably an upgrade, even though we saw Thomas Brown at Carolina. And that's another one where it's like, was he this bad? Or was it, oh my God, like this is just a team that had nothing to work with at this point. What was the deal with his stint down there? Is he actually not a good play caller? Is this a bad decision just out of the frying pan into the fire? There's so many what ifs. And the biggest one to me that's not even getting talked about was Jordan Love looked like shit last time out because he couldn't move laterally. He couldn't move when there was pressure on him. That's one of his skill sets that we need, especially when you have all these good receivers that can flash open if he can buy some time. He looked really ginger with that groin injury. Mm-hmm. And now it's coming off the bye. So I said, all right, I'm going to assume he's like 20% more healthy in my numbers. And obviously that moved it out a little more, but without like seeing some footage from practice yet, I can't guarantee that. So I'm sitting here with a very bad number on the Bears from 2 weeks ago. And I think that's probably where I'm going to stick with because this is the 18 what ifs game that I don't need to get involved in. This total also dropped quite a bit, 44.5 on the look at. I think it is open 41 down to 40. I guess that probably checks out because the Chicago offense has looked very inept. And if I were a defensive coordinator who we think is better than what we had last year, which was not a high bar to clear in Green Bay, if you get 2 weeks to watch what's working against the Bears, maybe it is another good week for the Green Bay pass rush. They've only had about one of those.
No weather to speak of, so that's not the reason. It's
Yeah, it's
all
gonna be
fading
nice,
Bears offense. Well, if you believe in clustering, Caleb Williams started the season with 3 negative EPA games. Then he had 3 positive, and he had 3 negative. So he's a streaky fella, and maybe he just needs to turn it around. He's bottomed out. The Patriots game was his worst game of the season, narrowly passing his game at the Texans. Fact that it happened at home and against an inferior opponent didn't help anything, I think. Yeah, I mean, mostly just watching for the body language of everyone else on that. Oh, actually, wait a second. The Bears, they cut Nate Davis. Problem solved.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
They didn't love him coming in with that injury that late, and he's been, a disappointment, but it kind of makes you wonder if they should. How many times can you replace the front office in 5 years?
Yeah, I don't know. They cut Davis, but they have it looks like Jenkins is probably out. Jones and Wright are question marks.
Yeah.
I don't know. This could be bad for protection purposes. Montez Sweat was a DNP. Brisker remains on, DNP.
Brisker is a weird one too. He had the concussion.
He might never come back. Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have let him play because then he played that game. Then after the game, he's like, "Man, I don't feel good. The concussion stuff is back." And then it's been like 40 days, and so like that feels like the, oh my God, Justin Morneau, my career might be over concussion, where you just have these symptoms all the time now. I don't know. It's a sketchy ass situation.
All right. I got nothing else on that one. Good luck to you and the Bears. I hope you at least get a push out of it. Cleveland, New Orleans is I have no read. Jameis Winston apparently will be the quarterback for Cleveland. Derek Carr will be the quarterback for New Orleans. The Rizzler remains the coach for New Orleans. Presumably, Cleveland's bye week should have helped some of their injured players on the defensive side of the ball. Although, yeah, there's still a couple of guys who actually no, basically everybody practiced. So Cleveland's, I guess, at full strength. I'm surprised that Cleveland's at full strength and Jameis Winston is the quarterback here, that this hasn't flipped to Cleveland's small favorite at New Orleans. What say you?
Yeah, I'm still pretty much on market here. New Orleans is a lot better with, Carr in. That was a weird game to try to sort out last week, where Atlanta is a lot better than what we saw on paper. And I don't think it was just this outstanding performance by the New Orleans defense. It felt like Atlanta shooting themselves in the foot.
I agree.
Reloading, shooting themselves in the other foot, and then maybe peppering themselves a little more in the ankles. It was kind of a rough hang if you were a Falcons backer or fan. That game was funny, but it's still good. It's still a good enough offense. They have enough weapons, even with Olave out for a while. You still have a good running back. You still have Taysom Hill. You still have a quarterback who's not. I mean, he's like middle of the pack. A lot of teams would love to have Derek Carr, which sucks. That's what we're at. Like, would you rather have Derek Carr or Gardner Minshew if it was just you're not paying him? There's a lot of teams that are a lot worse off than this.
It's funny that you pull a Raiders as the example.
I know it is funny that it's really. This is a tough New Orleans team to figure out. I think I have Cleveland, kind of figured out where we're at. It's
where are you?
Not going to be a good offense. I don't think we're going to see Cedric look like Randy Moss every week. I don't think Jameis is going to be consistent. It's kind of what you get from Jameis. You're going to get the inconsistency. That's what we're expecting. I would probably lean on the running game against New Orleans here and see what you can do. I have this New Orleans defense quite a bit worse than where we started the season. Obviously, this is one of my worst run stop defenses. This pass rush rate's very low. So I think it could be a good Jameis game if he's not pressured. See,
Yeah.
their secondary was one of their strengths, but they traded away a piece. They lost, McKinstry's been hurt. It looks like a bad week for the New Orleans defense, I guess. So
Yeah.
if I did have to bet this, it would probably, even being on market, it feels like there's a lot of paths to Cleveland scoring quite a bit here. I think a couple people have already pointed out the Chubb game. So
it does feel like it. Yeah.
Chubb props.
Honestly, I kind of think just Cleveland's the side here.
It's hard with looking at my deeper numbers, my group by group, or my matchup numbers, trying to figure out what Cleveland's offense is, because using a full sample size of the year is probably not very useful information right now with Cleveland. So if I tighten that up and look at what Cleveland's done with Jameis, I can make some pretty good cases. And obviously, I don't have a full season with Chubb either. So there's a case for this Cleveland offense.
Do you even have one game with the offensive line is as healthy as they're going to be on Sunday?
No, that's the other thing too. Missing multiple tackles for what?
This kind of feels like a game where Cleveland plays to their preseason prior. I'll be honest with you. I am going to bet Cleveland. I've already decided.
I think I'm with you there. Let me take my Cleveland number.
They should be favored in this spot, I think. All right. Let's move on to Ramathorns at the Patriots. Very disappointing Monday Night Football game from the Rams, and now they got to turn around and go on the road at a New England team that is frisky all of a sudden. Terrible travel spot for the Rams on a short week across the country. Potentially could have an impact on this one. I agree that they should be still 4 or 5 point favorites here. I was teasing the idea of playing the Rams, but ultimately I don't think I really have it in me at the current market numbers, considering the travel and rest disadvantage issues. So it's a pass, but I think the Rams could make this Patriots defense look pretty pedestrian.
I thought we were betting Drake May Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I mean, if you like New England in this game, you might as well.
I think I'm joking, but I think, if you do like him to have a good game, you might as well take a tickle on that, especially if you like Philly.
That's actually kind of the issue, though, is the offensive line is still really fucking bad. And now they're going up against a pass rush that has a very real pulse.
Yeah. I like that the offense has gotten a little bit of a heartbeat here.
But May is 25-1. Wow. Oh my goodness. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me look at what do we have here. I hadn't pulled up this price yet. Yeah, my Rams number is still high to the market, I think. But this is like you said, it's a brutal travel spot. It's an indoor team going and playing. I don't know how cold it's going to be in New England. It could be pretty chilly. Gales in November come early here. So probably a little bit of a downgrade, a little extra home field for New England, a little extra for the travel, a little extra for the Rams playing with the rest disadvantage.
It's going to be pretty mild, 58 degrees.
Okay, so that's not too bad. It's still an outdoor game for an indoor team. I guess I'm fine with this. This is one I did play on the look ahead as well. I'm not sure how much I love this one as well. I played over 43. I don't know what kept the Rams offense from looking good on Monday. I want to go back. I haven't had a chance to go back.
It was honestly, it was sloppy offensive line play. Like they just looked rusty. There wasn't cohesion there.
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure, and there were some bad decisions by McVay. All the field goals late. Like, what are we doing, guys? I still kind of like the over, but I'm not gonna double dip on that. Bounce back game for McVay.
I like it. Balto, Pittsburgh. I mean, I really don't know where to start, Andy, but to tell you that these teams don't especially care for each other. There's no love.
Is there love lost?
There's none. The Baltimore Ravens head to Pittsburgh off of Thursday night. Get out of jail kind of a win. We get extra rest for to take on a Pittsburgh team that has an offense. Russell Wilson looks like more like the guy that was in Seattle being talked about as, a future franchise player than the guy who was left for dead in Denver. And a ton of it just has to do with the way that they're scheming the offense around him and the weapons he has to work with kind of being perfect hand in glove with what he can still do, throwing a deep ball with a little bit of accuracy and a ton of arc. And Baltimore's defense has gotten beaten by that type of quarterback a lot this year. And I think Pittsburgh defense is a bit overrated, but they're probably the toughest test Baltimore's had in a while. So this my numbers say Pittsburgh, just go bet it. Don't overthink it. Still make them dogs, but I'm only at 1.1. My numbers say that the total has gotten bet up too much, but I'm not really inclined to get involved with an under in a Baltimore game this season, as they are my number one ranked offense. Do you have a consensus with me that Pittsburgh should be inside of the 3 points here? And if so, did you bet it? Are you waiting for the 3.5? What's your appetite to bet this game at all?
Slightly. I'm at like a 2.8. It's
Okay.
not huge. Obviously, the rest advantage, the prep advantage for the Ravens coming off the Thursday night game, and boy, brutal 1-2. Even if you get the wins here, this is a tough stretch for them. The biggest matchup disadvantage I have here is, again, and this is using data from the entire season for Pittsburgh. This is not just the Russ data, although it's heavily weighted towards the more recent stuff, is Pittsburgh's passing game versus this Baltimore secondary right now, who's even more injured. Like, I disagree a little with the total. Like you said, you didn't think the total should be up this high. I'm not saying I'm going to bet over 48, but I guess I understand why the total would move up. Like, in how many game states are there where Pittsburgh is throwing often? It feels like the most common game state is a close game back and forth. And why would you run the ball if Tomlin and, God, why can't I think of there was Arthur Smith decide to run the ball over? If they run the ball over and over, they're just going to lose, and they're going to lose in an embarrassing game, and they are going to get skewered. Maybe that happens because Art Smith is kind of stubborn at times.
A little bit of a dope. Yeah.
I've seen him have some pretty smart game plans here because he's made the most out of Russ. And if they run and run and run, yeah, I guess they just decide they want to get skewered in the media after losing an embarrassing game. But if they decide to air it out, it's been a good offensive line. It's been a good deep ball game, even if it looks kind of ugly here and there. And they should have a big advantage on the secondary. So I think it does turn into a back and forth game. It feels like it could get into the 50s. Like, if I'm betting this over, I'm betting some alts, though, because it could just be one of those, like, oh, shit, like, this is, Baltimore is doing whatever they want.
I
can't stop the deep
would
ball.
really want to talk you off of betting it over in this game. As good as Lamar is.
You just said Pittsburgh's defense is overrated.
I think they are, but not to the point of conceding this many points to Baltimore. I'm not saying bet the under on this one, but I don't think it's an accident that Lamar's worst performances against an opponent happen to be against Pittsburgh. Like, for whatever reason, he has a difficult time playing at the formerly known as Heinz Field. And the offensive line has been good because of the running threat that Lamar Jackson presents, and up against this pass rush, it might not be as good. I think I can't get out of my head how dumb some of the Ravens' performances have been against the Steelers over the years. And I don't know that they're just going to go scorched earth on them in this one.
And it feels like a different team. I don't know. That just
does feel like a different team.
Vibes and feelings. You can't bet on that.
It does.
Or can you?
Derrick Henry, smash mouth type of.
This is the thing too. Like, do you remember that game where?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like Lamar had like 6 drops.
I don't know why
they're not doing that this year.
I know, but they never play a good game against the Steelers, and I don't understand why. It just doesn't ever happen.
Tomlin voodoo, baby.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much on market with both these prices. I'm saying there's probably a big long tail to the overs here. Like, if you do like this over, I'm saying don't stop with a 48. play a 52, play a 56.
Okay.
Tickle it and have some fun, because
I guess
if it does turn into this is a different Baltimore team, they can use this offense against anybody. Then they're going to score 30 points, and
Yes.
Pittsburgh's going to be throwing all game, and Pittsburgh is going to have to throw, and it's probably going to work. And this is going to be like 31-28.
Okay. All right.
This is the one I'm most excited to watch. I think this is my Andy's AOK signed game. I made
love
that
it.
up just now.
The oppo of a shower fart.
Yeah.
The oppo of a cold shower fart. The
Oh my God, I couldn't fart it. You couldn't fart it if I was tried. That thing was tighter than a walnut tree.
The Miami Dolphins are fixed. They're back. Their defense played great. I was doubting them against the Rams. They were amazing. It seems like the coordinators figured out how to work with the parts he's got. They're healthier than they've been in a while. The Raiders are an absolute broken disaster. They go into their bye firing their offensive coordinator, and who's coming to the rescue? The Turners, Scott and Norv taking over play calling duties with a quarterback who shouldn't be a starter, but is by default in Gardner Minshew. Other than Brock Bowers, burn it to the ground. Max Crosby, I guess, is cool. Christian Wilkins should be fine when he gets healthy, I hope. But this is a sad deal, and Miami probably gets to pick their number here, even though it's a short week from them. A short week against a team off a bye, that's got to be rare, right? How often does that happen? This has got to be the biggest rest disparity of the year. Raiders off the bye against
this happened the other week. This happened the other week, and God, now it's gonna escape me. But yeah, it is a big advantage, but it's for a team that's switching. Have you seen the quotes too?
8.8 day rest advantage. Yeah, no, yes, I have, and everything black and silver and black and silver, whatever. Everything black and silver I read is just depressing.
It seems like they want to lean on the running game, and they don't have a good running back nor a good offensive line for that. And maybe sometimes that's just scheme, and Scott Turner can dial something up in 2 weeks to get them a little more success. But I don't know, if I was damn near an 8-point dog and I had the rookie tight end and Jacoby Myers, and we're saying, hey, we weren't going to go to Ritter. We got to stick with Minshew. He gives us the best chance. You kind of going to have to not just go into this game with a conservative offense. You can't go into any game conservatively if you're a shitty team, unless, and again, this is the maybe 4D chess, you probably don't want to win this game. Like, you're in such a spot. You need some turn. There's a big competition for like the top 5 picks. There's so many 2 and 3 win teams.
The Raiders, I believe in the Raiders. I believe they can get it.
I think they can do it too. Real nice. I mean, if you believe Miami's defense truly has taken a turn for the better, which I don't think it's as good as we saw. I don't think it's as good as we saw from the pass rush. The pass rush is simply not that good, but it's somewhere in between that and what we saw, like against Arizona second half, which is good enough against Gardner Minshew in these pieces. I feel like Miami's a pretty nice teaser leg here at home. It doesn't matter with the rest disparity. Like, it feels like winning this by a field goal is kind of an easy task, and this could be a blowout. I have a nice rating for Vegas's secondary, but Hobbs is banged up, and they haven't played wide receivers like this all that often, I guess.
My fair is 6.9. My total is 43.9. So I'm 0.1 off of both of these numbers. So I will not be betting this game, and I'm ready to move on to Jacksonville, Detroit. You think Miami could sneak back in and get that 7th seed? Somebody's got to get it.
Sam gave me shit about I posted in the Discord all of my probabilities for playoffs. So I ran my numbers through the unabated simulator.
Yes.
I ran my numbers through Christopher Davis's simulator.
Mm-hmm.
I took the I took the playoff probabilities, just 50-50 averaged them. Also, I mixed up the LA teams when I did that because of the abbreviations, and my numbers were way off. So Brad, I didn't look that close. Brad's like 44%
For
for
the
the Rams.
Chargers?
No, it
For
was
the
the
Rams?
Rams.
Oh, for
So
the
I had
Rams.
obviously
Oh,
I
yeah.
had the Chargers way too low as well. But I had Miami at like 10%. I went and
I'm
looked
at
at what the
18.
market's saying. The loss at the Colts is bad because that's one of the tiebreakers you might need if the
Colts
Colts
are
win
winning
again.
another game?
I think they are. They have some very winnable games. It's just basically but the truthful, I think the team you're fighting is Denver, and I don't know if they can catch them. So I think 10 to 15% is probably correct.
Yes is plus 350. That
Just not a big enough number.
Yeah, that's 1 over 4.5, which is 22%. So I'm at 18, so that's a no bet. Too bad. I wonder if I give them 100% win probability this week, what that would change their playoff.
Are we on Jacksonville, Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, this is a 14-point spread. Good luck covering it, Detroit. You can do it.
I would bet it. I might bet it.
Detroit? You're gonna lay 14 just for the shit?
What's the alternate? What's the alternate way to bet it? If you like Detroit and you just say
minus
like,
21.5.
Yeah, I think you maybe lay some alts here too. This could just be an ass beating, and Detroit's done that a couple times.
Can you get a same game parlay of Detroit covers 14, Goff has a 90+% completion percentage, Mac Jones throws 2 picks, and Doug Peterson gets fired?
I don't think you do that. Celtics win the tip. Celtics first basket. Yeah, the Jags team total in this would be, what are we looking at for a total? So 23 plus 23 minus 7 is
16.3.
Oof. So you're looking at a 16.5. If you were going to play a Jags team total under, I might play like under 7.5 first half. Because the garbage time factor, you're going to be mad if Detroit's up 44-7 and they score a couple bad ones. Probably like decide which running back gets the carries in when it's, a laugher late. Although they tend to just kind of split them down the middle sometimes.
I can't get your number wise, but I am not taking anything Jacksonville related.
I could be Gibbs longest rush over.
Ooh.
He always breaks a couple here and there. Like he's very good in the open field. This is it feels like a kitchen sink game, but how do you play your kitchen sink game against probably the best team in the league? If not, at second best at worst.
Also the Lions are healthy besides Sam Laporta. Like they're basically all the way good.
Yeah, they're getting Decker looks good, right?
Yeah, and Zadarius Smith is going to play.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to bet, it's a cheaper price. So, what's the money line here? Minus 1,000.
Yeah.
Doug Peterson to get fired. Next coach is cheaper than that. You can just bet that.
Is it?
I don't know. Probably. It's probably 500. I'll have to go look. I'll see what that's up. Yeah, Jags. It should be a kitchen sink game, but it feels like this could be an absolute quit spot in the second half too. If it's like, all right, well, we'll figure out who our coach is, in like 6 days when they name it interim.
3-2-1 Cancun for the Jags. I like it, Nick C. All right. Well, the Minnesota Vikings are at the Tennessee Titans. Titans coming off a bye? No, I don't remember. Did they play last week? I forget. I'm not watching a lot of Titans games. They did play? You're shaking. They did? Yeah. Will Levis is remaining the starter, I assume. Yes. Don't know if it matters. Minnesota is dealing with the Cam Robinson injury, which is a little bit of an eyebrow raiser because I thought that was a nice move to fortify that position when they lost Darisaw. I make this only 5. My total is 43.5. That says bet the over. Largely makes me want to play the Minnesota team total over. What do you think?
Oh,
get a decent score or two.
Yeah, this was a look ahead that did well. I played under 42.5 here. At this point, I'm thinking about coming back. We've got 41, 42. There's some common landing numbers down the middle. I might actually buy back. This is like 39.5 now.
Middle shot.
I might take a middle shot on this because I think it probably has jumped too far, and there's some bad spots for. It's a defense I respect in Tennessee. That's part of the reason I bet this. And guess what? If he didn't take how many bad sacks he took last week, Levis
7
wasn't horrible. Those are killers. Like those are drive killers for a team that doesn't have they don't have the Mahomes to Kelsey for 17 yards on 3rd and 15 constantly, because they have neither of those players nor anyone near resembling them. So if you keep getting behind the sticks, they're just going to keep punting. Minnesota's going to win this, 31-10 an awful lot of times. I can't justify laying this amount of points on the road with a team with someone named Sam Darnold, who now has a hand injury now. I need to get more information on that. I think he hurt his hand on one of the interceptions. I don't know. He was
LP today.
Yeah, I need a little more information to see if that is actually something that matters. I'm on the other side of 7 right now. The way I make this, I took away a lot of home field for Tennessee. I don't think it's a good spot. You got to take something for Minnesota traveling for the second straight week. Although Minnesota undefeated since I fixed the board.
You almost broke it again.
I propose
that move.
So I am going to go for a middle shot here, but I propose a little experiment when they go to.
Well, you want a middle
Chicago
shot?
next week.
You know what you.
I take this. I throw this on the ground and see if they lose to Chicago.
You know what the middle shot is, Andy?
Minnesota team total over.
Yeah.
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 I might just do that.
Their defense could very well put a thumb on Tennessee.
I'm going to jot that down.
All right, let's carry on. Seattle, San Francisco. I played the Sea Chickens a little bit as the rest, a little bit as the health. Abe Lucas sounds like he's nearing a return. The Niners are good. They beat the Seattle Seahawks convincingly on Thursday Night Football on the road not that long ago. But I think Seattle's in a pretty good spot to do some self-reflection after what was a really rough time from a bunch of injuries and just a rotating cast of characters who were available for the first half of the season. This is sort of a team that I think really could benefit pretty substantially from the bye week, both healthy bodies and some young coaching staff getting a chance to reflect. Maybe this is optimism that it's not over for Seattle when maybe it already is. But I think this should be closer to a 4-point spread, not 6.5. So let's go Seattle, and DK Metcalf will be back. Forgot to mention that. San Francisco is kind of a weird deal, I got to tell you. Do you get any good vibes from them? Like Deebo Samuel throwing punches at his own teammates and like all kinds of...
If they're losing games, it's dysfunction.
Yeah.
If you're winning and you're a good franchise for the last few years,
yeah,
it's fiery competitiveness.
There's some funky stink around the Niners, I gotta tell you. George Kittle DNP with the hammy. Trent Williams was a rest, but he's dealing with some injuries. Nick Bosa was a DNP with the hip. Charvarius Ward personal DNP was a weird one. They signed a punter to the practice squad, which makes me think Mitch might be no good to go. Yeah, I mean, there's just a little bit of a whiff of trouble on the brewing for this Niners team. Like they're a clear top 5 team the way they should be power rated, but they maybe, lose the wrong games and don't get into the playoffs or something. George Fant, the only notable injury for the Seahawks. That and the fact that they cut Dodson. We got no Dodson. Yeah, I guess what's your read on the current state of the Sea Chickens and the current state of the Niners?
So I do make this, like you're saying, I can't quite get to this number. Which are we still at 6.5? I don't think
that's what I played.
Yeah, this
What is it
hasn't
now?
seen much. Yeah, pretty much.
6.5. Yeah, it's flat 6.5.
Flat 6.5. So we're sitting at a nice 6.5. I'm at like 4.9. So little value there I'm showing. But some of the numbers that really matter on the defense right now for Seattle are bad. Like their coverage number is rough. I have this as a 20th and or lower ranked defense, depending how I move this run stop number. Run stop's been bad. Get McCaffrey with one more week of practice. He looked dangerous with some of the catches. Obviously, we had some, the running game wasn't great. I feel like maybe as the playoff run gets closer, they probably mix in Mason as well, even though he's still probably has that shoulder thing. So it's kind of how you feel about the Seattle defense. If they can step up in class here, it didn't look good last time. This time is at San Francisco, but off the bye. I just haven't had a good read on how bad Seattle's defense is. I think I want them to be better than they are because I believe in McDonald. We just haven't seen it consistently. And, if the pass rush is not getting home, it's a very bad defense, like bottom 5. And San Francisco might just be too good for that. Or what did you think of this total? 48.
I am 47.3.
I have some issues with this coverage for San Francisco as well. I have a good number, but it's
see they gave a bunch of money to Diamador Lenoir.
Yeah, it's inconsistent because the pass rush has been kind of inconsistent once in a while. And, those two go so hand in hand. So this is another one where I'm close to the number now that I've run totals. But it's another one where if this goes over, it goes over a bunch. Like
yeah, true.
This turns into a back and forth 60 point game. So I think if you do like this over, you can play some alts. I want to dig into the San Francisco coverages, what their tendencies are, because DK is he's such a man beater.
He is. I don't think they have much of an identity on defense outside of Fred Warner go play like a fucking badass.
Yeah. Be the best linebacker in the world.
Okay. Well, too late for me. I already played the Seattle Seahawks, and I don't know. Man.
Points.
It's a lot of points
in division.
Good, but I think they'll be competitive. Atlanta at Denver is one where I flirted very, very heavily with your Atlanta Falcons and ultimately passed. I make this basically a pick. You surprised that the Falcons are catching 2?
A little bit. I mean,
it
depends what you made of that game. What you decided that the factors were that kept the Chiefs down.
It was just a divisional fluky garbage game, which happens.
I kind of think so too, because Kansas City had a bunch of red zone drives. Kansas City looked good for big chunks. It just didn't quite execute at the times where it needed to. These are two really big mismatches for offenses and defenses. I guess, we're talking Atlanta's offense should be a lot better than we saw last week. Denver defense was probably a little overrated in what we saw at the end of last week. It's still one of my top defenses, and this is maybe blasphemous. This is a bigger pain in the ass to defend against than the Chiefs, I think. The Chiefs are still figuring.
This is balanced offense,
it's more balanced. They're still trying to figure out how they're going to use Hopkins. It kind of does come down to how you feel about the Atlanta offense, because I think that's what's going to matter in this game. If Atlanta can get it done offensively, if we can see a little more consistency, it's a good enough offense. It's actually, it's a very good offensive line at times, especially for defending against pass rush. It's a good pass rush for Denver. So a lot of strength on strength.
It is actually. That's a very good way to put it. And weakness on weakness, as the vertical passing game doesn't exist in the Broncos arsenal, and that is how you would want to attack the Falcons if you were so inclined. Knicks shouldn't be under any duress in this game. The pass rush for Atlanta doesn't exist. And yeah, I mean, I guess this should presumably be a good game for Knicks if they take the training wheels off, which we've seen them do recently. So
I would think I think you'd see a bunch of running. It's an Atlanta Hawk defense you can run against too. I don't have a very good run stop number. In fact, I have a very bad run stop number for them.
Okay. I'm pretty close to the pick 'em.
Yeah, if I did have to play anything, it would be just Atlanta straight up. I wouldn't take the points.
Okay. Interesting. Any other thoughts there?
No, I think I had a mismatch somewhere. Oh yeah, it just my run stop number compared to Denver's run number. Like I have just a specific. How's your run offense look with pass run block, with yards before contact, with how your EPA when you're running the ball. I mash a bunch of stuff together just to get a general sense of running versus run defense, and it is the biggest disadvantage I have for the week for a running offense. Denver's run offense versus Atlanta's defense.
Okay, bunch of
I
big
might just play some props there.
Big mismatch in health. Atlanta's coming in a little banged up, and Denver's pretty much full.
Back-to-back travel spot, going to altitude. It's probably going to keep me away, and I might look at some props.
All right, good reason. Those are good reasons to pass. I'll just walk out. I'll walk away. Kansas City at Buffalo. I played the Chiefs here. I assume you did as well, looking at your power numbers.
Yeah.
You have the Chiefs as a better team than the Bills. I think the Bills are a better team than the Chiefs, but then margins are so fine that 2.5 points on the road is not enough. Is not. It's too many. So hopefully Andy brings the good place.
When they played the Dolphins 2 weeks ago, they gave up a grip of points.
The Bills defense did.
Yeah.
You think that of the 4 units, Bills defense is the worst, right?
The defense is weak. Like it feels like it's a good Chiefs offense day. When they played the Seahawks and the Titans, they stymied them, When they played the Colts, they did for
stymieing.
a reasonable amount of time. But yeah, this Bills defense, go look at the Ravens game. If you go up against a good game plan with some actual star power, you can definitely beat this defense. I think my Buffalo number's too low. Like I shouldn't be making this number what I do, but I'm gonna it's just Casey straight up. Me and the rest of the world.
Yeah. Matchup wise, what I'm most inclined to see here is I think that a lot of the Bills' success has actually come from having a pretty damn good run block and a pretty good running game that is complementary. And then Josh Allen is just unsackable because he's so big and he is so athletic. And the running component for the Bills probably doesn't materialize in this game, from what I can tell you. This is going to be a little bit of a if the Bills beat them, you're going to have to beat them with your left hand, not your right hand, right? Like they're going to have to do some downfield passing. Yeah, exactly. They're going to have to do some downfield passing, some precision passing, and I don't know that they're capable of that with the weapons that they've got right now. Kincaid injury matters. The lack of chemistry building opportunities for Allen and Cooper matter.
And I think this is the reason I didn't upgrade the Bills, where I probably should be a little closer to the market. It's like, what is this offense if Kincaid is out and they have probably two of their 3 best receivers, 3 of their 4 if you count Kincaid, I guess, injured.
Yeah.
Like those matter a ton, and you're going to put a lot on Josh's legs when you have good linebackers, fast linebackers, good speedy secondary pieces. I don't think he's going to get these big runs today. So this is it does suck. Like from a betting standpoint, I think it's a big advantage, and this should be closer to a pick 'em. It's starting to trend that way. But from just watching the game, I kind of wish the Bills were healthy and we got a good preview of what a second or third round game in the playoffs should be looking like.
It's probably a good thing we're not going to, because that makes then that matchup more fun. Right?
Mystery.
If it's just all the same, then it's not as fun. The market's a little unsure. There's some opportunities to do some fun things. So, I got a general vibe that the last 2 weeks for the Chiefs were pretty. Was the old Milton Berle games? You know, pull out only enough that you have to.
Oh God, you tell a cock joke.
that's kind of what it felt like.
Andrew,
like, don't lose these games.
Yeah.
Like, they
so
should've
and
lost
here,
the Broncos.
here's
They
the
coulda lost to the
conspiracy theory
Bucks.
too.
Yeah.
Is like if you think you're playing this team in the playoffs and this game starts to slip away, do you pack it in? They head to the bye next week. I know it stings to lose to a good team, but you're winning your division by like 9 games. You know, you still want to fight for seeding, but this game is much less important than the rematch that probably happens in the playoffs.
And
I'm not saying Buffalo's
very
punting
likely
this,
to be.
but
It's very likely to be in Kansas City, regardless of the outcome here. Yeah,
that it doesn't feel like they're going to catch them for the 1 seed because Kansas City has the blood magic,
and they have a much easier schedule than Buffalo does.
So I don't know. This is weird, but yeah, I'm playing KC.
All right, let's carry on to the mismatch du jour for me from a.
Oh, really? I'm excited to bet this with you then.
Well, I don't know that we agree. Do we?
We'll find out.
We're
we're in a standoff here.
Yeah, I think the Chargers should be on the other side of 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
My numbers.
The only good thing going for Cincy is the extra rest.
Yeah, this isn't a raw number thing for me. I'm closest to market. It's just a really bad mismatch for their defense.
Yeah, it is bad.
And we've seen Herbert look maybe as good as he's looked since his rookie year. Like he's been low key amazing, but it's not been in like high leverage games that matter. So it's like, oh, they beat, their defense held a team down. They scored 20 points. It's not exciting. This is a game they could absolutely tear up the Cincy defense. This is a big matchup for their run defense. Cincinnati already banged up, signing guys off the street to run the ball. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball at all, whatsoever. So it's going to be 100% to passing game. Even if Higgins is back, this is a secondary that's going to be probably fine.
Did you get any sense that Higgins is coming back? I was just kind of assuming
he practiced today.
Oh, he was limited, huh?
Yeah.
Well, he's probably going to get re-injured tomorrow in practice.
Maybe it's a throw him a bone, I got to go in practice. But yeah,
DNP for Orlando Brown.
Big disadvantage for Cincinnati trying to get anything going off the ground, and it's going to make them very one-dimensional. For a guy we didn't mention for assistant coach of the year is Minter. Minter. If Minter let's say he has a really good game and he just shuts down an offense that's been kind of humming.
Yeah.
He probably gets in some discussions for, boy, this is a guy we might want to hire in the next cycle because there's going to be 10 fucking openings again.
That's not crazy at all, actually. I mean, I don't really know what to say about the Chargers defense at this point. Like, I capitulated a couple weeks ago. They're good somehow. It doesn't matter if a bunch of guys are hurt. It's just not happening. Oh, did you know that FTN put all their DVOA stuff behind a paywall?
Yeah,
I didn't see that. Was that today?
I don't know. I have a sub there.
You have a sub? Okay.
Yeah,
they must have done that today. I was just curious what their defensive DVOA was for the Chargers. I'm assuming it's top 3. Their EPA per play allowed is top 1. Yeah, like they're checking every single box.
It's funny, of the 3 phases of defense, I have their pass rush is the worst of the 3, which is amazing for a team that has Bosa and Mack. But like I mentioned, and maybe some of it was game state, but those guys didn't play a lot last week. In fact, Mack had like 4 snaps. So a little concerning. I don't know if it felt like hey, we need these guys for next week when we have a legit stud quarterback that we need to beat. But even when it was close, it felt like that game was in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, if the pass rush starts to get there, it's going to be maybe one of the best defenses. I think it probably already is.
Okay.
So
well, I mean, I do worry a little about the the very, very limited sample size we have of the Chargers playing good teams or good offenses, I guess. Yeah, I don't know that Cincy really qualifies as a good offense right now. It is a very, very fragile system where if Chase isn't, just absolutely wrecking shit, then it's kind of stinky at times.
TVOA would rank the Chargers as the 8th best off defense. Minnesota, Houston, Detroit.
I don't agree with those rankings at all. Then
I actually have Houston pretty high, surprisingly
not
high.
second,
not second, but Minnesota I can live with. Houston,
I have Houston 6th. I have Minnesota 8th. What was Detroit? 3rd?
Detroit is 3rd. I can't.
I'm not even in the same area code.
Kansas City, I can live with. Denver, I can live with. San Francisco, I
yes,
cannot.
Those are good. Nope, that's not correct.
6th. Philly, I can live with. Chargers, and then Chargers, Buffalo right behind them. Buffalo hasn't been that good in my numbers.
Weird. Interesting. Okay. Well, defense is still, again, a lot about any defensive metric is a lot about who have you played. And specifically what quarterbacks have you played. So
this is the Fangio point I made earlier. This is Minter and Harbaugh, more and more time spent with this team, this personnel, these, position groups, and you're seeing a defense get better week in and week out. So I think the Chargers are real. I think they're going to be a real big pain in the ass. They're kind of my team to, you take your big three, your Buffalo, Kansas City, Baltimore. It feels like the Chargers are the team that upsets one of them because they're just going to be this big pain in the ass team to play.
It sounds right to me too.
So yeah, I played Chargers.
All right, let's go Chargers. I think they're going to get it done largely with offense and keep away. We did Sunday Night Football before Colts Jets. Was Colts Jets flexed out? That was going to be Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, well, because Rodgers, really? Rodgers was a big name, and coming. I mean, coming into the season, people had high hopes for Anthony Richardson.
Oh God! Yikes! Good job flexing that.
Yeah, I mean that's the right call.
Yeah. My numbers say bet the Colts, but I don't think I'm going to. Where are you at?
It's a lot. People keep going back to the window, and they want to. All right. So are we doing we're doing the Jets game right now? Okay.
Jets Colts.
I'm just trying to get the timestamps in for people. New York Jets.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my fair for Jets Colts is Jets by 1.2. I don't know why it's on the other side of 3. I mean, that's such a big delta. I should just probably just, and it's across the key number. I should probably just bet the Colts, but I don't know.
What you just said.
The one is concerning. Yeah.
Well, I was hoping you'd have more to say than that because I'm in the same boat, and I was going to do the same thing. Like, I can't make the Jets this big of a favorite. What have the Jets done to deserve to be this big of a favorite outside of just Anthony Richardson is going to. He's going to not complete 50% of his passes, and we don't know exactly what this defense is going to put up for resistance at times. But, I mean, Flacco hasn't been good. Richardson brings another dynamic, which can be a pain in the ass to defend. The only nice thing I can say for the Jets is their pass rush has looked a little better. But that was probably a spot where it was bound to look better. And I don't know if, the Will McDonald isn't elite. He just is closing out his sacks at an unsustainable rate.
He's bad at run defense.
He's a guy who can only be out there when he's in a clear run situation. I might just bet Indy. I need to dig in a little on this. The coverage numbers for the Jets is pretty good, even with Sauce having a down year. Overall, their coverage numbers are pretty good against an Indy pass offense, which I worry about. Again, I like JT's numbers last week. I don't know what his rushing total is. If it's 80 or below, I think that's an over again. They're gonna have to hit the JT button a lot, and he's been great. So Colts +4, JT, same as last week for me.
You know what the market support? You know what the market support for the Jets is all about, right? Somebody's martingaling them.
It has to be. I don't know.
I mean, they did win against the Texans, I guess.
What is your theory on the Flacco Richardson flip flopping? Do you think I mean, because Steichen said this is my call, which when you have to say that out loud, it probably wasn't.
I actually don't have a theory.
I think Irsay got involved and wanted Flacco to play because he remembered what the Colts did last year, or the Browns did, and then it's gone this way, and he's just like, all right, we put the kid
Whatever,
back. You
do
win.
whatever you want.
Like I think Steichen probably wanted to stick with Richardson. Feels like he has some job security, and he needs to know if he can get this kid to play or not. Because there's no future with Flacco. I don't think he's like lame duck. Fuck, I need like 5 wins out of Joe just to buy one more year of job paychecks.
I guess the switcheroo was such a shock to me in the first place that would be plausible. Your explanation makes sense. That it came from the drug-addled mind of a Jim Irsay who just wants to see a playoff game.
He slept it off. He
Yeah.
ran out of heroin. I don't know, man. Just like
either that or Jim Irsay's daughter, who's on the sidelines, is like, Dad, he can't fucking play.
Dad.
Joe Flacco needs to go back to this couch. He can't play.
Her voice, her voice is the voice of the twin girls from Snatch when they have to get Bullet Tooth Tony to do something for them. That was the voice I pictured in my head. I could like see the character. I don't know why. That's how she sounds. I'm gonna have to find a clip of her now.
Okay.
It's gonna ruin it for me. But yeah, Colts, and I make it like 2. I don't understand the support for the Jets. This total hasn't moved at all. Jets are heading to bye next week. It is a cold weather game for an indoor team.
I guess I'm sad we don't get to see Joe Flacco end the Jets season. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
I think this is clearly Colts side, but I don't know, man. All my numbers say bet all these sides that have like all of these intangible weird shit going on, like a quarterback change or a coach just got fired. So I'm a little,
I mean, we didn't even really decide, if it's
I bet some
upgrade
stuff
or
where I have
downgrade
like
for Vegas.
I have some stuff where I like bet some half point edges because I feel like there's other external factors I like, and I have some stuff where I had big edges that I just have completely ignored because there's external stuff I don't like. So that's where my head is.
Yeah,
at.
I mean, it's like, one of my biggest edges is Washington. I have a big edge on a couple of these where it's like, hey, you should bet the Raiders, you should bet the Commanders, you should bet Minnesota. It's just there's a bunch of little things and matchup things where I'm not just going to blindly follow my numbers on everything.
Yeah,
this one I am. It is going to be the Colts. I do not understand the Jets.
Okay, Colts Palooza. Houston at Dallas on Monday night. We don't have much in the way of an injury report, but I'm assuming Dallas is going to go with Lance. Did they say that out loud? Am I dreaming that? I heard that. I never really intended to bet this game, so I just was not paying attention.
So it was weird. Like Jerry had some quotes where he's like, I'm trying to find the exact quote because I want to get this right. Here it is. That was not the Cooper Rush we know. I don't know what the fuck that means. Like, I don't know if that means the Cooper Rush we know doesn't exist.
That's me.
Well, he went 5-1 for him last year. Again, that was a weird situation, and the players that he had around him were very different. They had a running game that existed last year.
This last 2 years ago.
I don't know. Maybe it was 2 years.
It had to be 2 years ago because Dak was like an MVP candidate last year. He didn't miss very much time.
Yeah, maybe this was 2 years ago. But they had, I think, at that point, then you definitely had good Pollard stepping in, asking to be the starter, and we've seen that he still should not be 3 down back. But like, I don't know if you're dumb, Jerry, or what. If you expect that from Cooper Rush every time you have to go to him. You lucked out. You had a good, you sun run. Guess what?
Yeah, right.
We bet on Black 13 times in a row and it hit 10. Like you won a bunch of money. Good job. It's not going to happen all the time. So I think I thought it was going to be Rush again. I guess we'll find out. I don't have a big difference between the two in my quarterback number. It's incredibly low. I think Lance might be worse though. He looked like he wasn't in the mind state where he thought he'd ever see the field.
Ever.
Well, I mean, just when
In
he
life.
yeah, he looked awkward and unathletic and nothing like we saw in those college clips.
No, he hasn't looked like that in a long time. I think he just maybe doesn't want to play football, but that's fine. I don't want to play football. All right.
Also, he couldn't see anything. Damn sun.
Yeah. The sun was in his eyes, surely. Okay. Well, I don't have an
I bet
opinion
this under on the look ahead. I think Dallas's defense is getting very healthy at the right time for an under here, but the wrong time for the team.
Yeah, I'm not stopping you. That's fun.
And obviously DVOA loves the Houston defense. I don't have them that high. I should look what I have Houston. I have Houston as my fourth best defense, not the second. So I have incredibly high numbers on coverage. I know Lassiter's been dinged up. We have to check some of that out, but the run stop has been good, which won't matter because Dallas can't run anyway. The pass rush has been a plus. This is a team they can probably harass. It feels like there's a decent chance for a low-scoring road shutout here. It's like 16-0. This could be an ugly game. Even though everyone's like so excited for Nico being back, I don't even think you need to like showcase him in this game. If you have a guy who has had this soft tissue injury, you're almost certainly going to host a playoff game. You need to be thinking about how do I upset, again, the teams above me, the Buffaloes, the Kansas Cities, the Baltimores. You need Nico Collins 100% for the playoffs. Like, I'm not saying he just sits the whole second half, but he's not running go routes once you have a 2-score lead. It does feel like let's just lean on Mixon and get out of town. I can't see shit. Actually, it's a night game. The sun won't be an issue.
It does all check out to me too.
So yeah, I do like this under. I played it at 42.5 last week. It's still 42. I make it 40.5. Dallas's offense is just taking a freaking nosedive. Like it is the Ferrari next to the trailer home with Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. There's nothing redeemable about the rest of this offense right now. That wasn't an aberration last week, what they did. That's about what you're going to get. And I think Houston is a better defense. Oh, yeah.
That sounds good.
Ugly times in Dallas, guys.
Ooh. I forget who did this. Somebody, it might have been Greg Rosenthal on the NFL Daily Pod, but somebody was kicking around the idea of a Trey Lance versus Tommy DeVito Thanksgiving special, just for the entertainment factor.
You know what happened when they played Tommy DeVito? They missed out on the draft picks. He won like 2 or 3 games. That turned out to be. Everyone makes fun of him for that. I don't think they knew Tommy DeVito's going to play halfway decent for
Giants Cowboys is officially the shower fart game of the season on Thanksgiving in a standalone spot. Like putting Tommy Cutlets in there would at least make it fun. Like it's probably the Drew Lock show once the Giants come back, right? Have we heard officially?
I am going to call it the Tommy Giblets game.
Tommy Giblets game.
Thanksgiving. My God, that sucks because that was supposed to be this. I mean, it's not like the Giants had this win total that was going to put them in the playoffs, but it was still supposed to be a playoff or a competitive divisional game. If Dallas was a big healthy right now, it'd be probably uglier. What's worse, Dallas being super healthy and beating the shit out of them, or just a
yakety sax type of game is way more fun than a lopsided ass kicking. Yeah, I want a yakety sax.
It would be Drew Lock. Like Lock would come in over Giblets. I'm just calling him Giblets now. That's fine.
I love it. If you're grading at home, the shower fart game of the week is Jaguars Lions because of the ass-kicking nature of it. And although it is your last chance to see Doug Peterson as a head coach, probably. So enjoy that, I guess.
What is that? Is there a small chance that they just like
ride it out?
Well, no, before the 6 o'clock, before the witching hour for the
fire him
final,
at halftime.
No, like after the game, but before the second games are done, before the late games are done.
Like
or
the
just
presser
like, hey,
is Doug Peterson's not going to be available. He's no longer with the team. We thank him for his service.
Yeah, like it's seriously at like 5:15 Eastern. It's just he's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard several people that have had some inside info saying it doesn't matter what happens. He's done heading into this weekend anyway. But I think it'd be funny if it was like the games have just ended, the witching hour is over, and Scott has to be like, oh, and we have a firing as we wait for the 3:25 games to kick off.
I like it, man. Secret Pod team total. Would you support a Vikings over? The hand injury to Darnold has me a little sketch, I gotta tell you. Dolphins over is interesting. That makes that game interesting. Browns over is interesting. I think we agreed that it's going to be tough sledding for the I forget. I forget who.
Let's go Vikings. I don't think the Darnold thing is a big deal. It just has to be listed. He heard it on his third interception. He played the rest of the game.
Okay.
And then he wasn't wearing a wrap today. It just is. They need to put it in there because of the accountability around injury stuff.
Okay. All right. I dig. Vikings team total over anything in the 23 or better ballpark is a bet. Sound good?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. NBA final thoughts. If you're watching the games, pray for me that the Pelicans stay inside the number here. Bet them pretty heavily today. I have Pacers in pocket and I have Bulls tonight. So
do you have
in
the
good shape, but the other two are a little. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have the full schedule built out? Like, do you have for running sims and stuff?
Yeah.
Can you get me maybe it's take too long to do it live on the pod, but what is your fair price for Cleveland 82-0? Did you see that? They offered like 1,000 to 1.
10,000 to 1, and now we're talking.
I mean, it has to be like 100,000 to 1. And you don't put numbers up like that because it's silly, but they could probably add 4 zeros and it's not fair. Just going a whole season without having an off night. Amazing.
I mean, honestly, like,
and I think, and if you have that sports book, you should make that bet.
Like the Cavs could get the one
maintenance, baby.
The Cavs could get the 1 seed. It's not crazy. It seems like the Celtics are pretty focused on keeping their guys healthy. They're doing a lot of preventative load management stuff that I've noticed. I mean, they've been lucky to get to 12-0. Honestly, they should have lost at least 2 games. I don't even have them as the number 1 power rated team right now. I have them 3rd.
We did midseason awards the other day. I don't think we're very far off from the favorites. We're pretty boring on that.
Well, we were. I mean, I think we were trying to predict, and it's pretty. There's pretty clean chalk right now.
Yeah,
it's pretty clean.
None of the chalk is bad. Like Verse is getting not only the numbers, but he's getting the hype.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's no other good quarterbacks.
Okay, here you go. You ready? Let's pretend that the favorites in every market does not get home. Okay. What is the awards? That's more fun than just chalking it out, right? The favorite, and honestly, like, we should point out the fact that the truth of the matter is what happens in the month of December matters more for these awards than what has already happened. It always does. Like, these things, like, people get bored and they forget and they have goldfish brains and they are just like, oh shit, did you see what happened on Christmas? Like, fuck, we got to give blank to blank. Stefanski winning coach of the year last year. Yeah, the Christmas games are Chiefs, Steelers, and Texans. Ravens.
Texans, Ravens.
Ooh, boy, are those good. I
Those are
shouldn't say
big-
anything.
big ones.
Shouldn't say anything. I guess that's
Yeah,
our
we don't.
dessert for sitting through Tommy Cutlets on Thanksgiving, I guess. Tommy Giblets. The MVP goes to Pat Mahomes. The offensive player of the year.
Oh, let's go with mine.
Here you go.
Kyler wins the division, and like the
Oof.
hype train is out of control.
Woof. MVP
Patrick
Kyler Murray,
Mahomes.
huh?
Patrick Mahomes. I don't know, just so many interceptions. I don't know if he's getting the, hey, he's the reason we're winning, and it's a short number. Kyler's like 22 still. Like,
I think the
should be
numbers.
bad.
Yeah, my guess is that if Lamar fumbles the bag on MVP, it's because he is the clear 4 seed or something like that, and
Yeah.
loses to like the Texans, and he has some.
He
negative
loses
games.
this game.
He loses.
He
this
can
game.
absolutely lose this game.
Yeah, he loses the. Yeah, it could be a wild card. At which point his numbers might not. Mahomes needs to make up a massive amount of ground, but he could do it. Still a lot of season left. And
But I worry about Allen just because they might be in such cruise control at the end of the year.
same,
It's like,
yeah.
we
And
have to-
honestly, his numbers aren't that great. And he's starting to. He's had a couple picks. People literally just sort of like he needed to sun run and have 2 interceptions for the whole season for his
Yeah.
case to be.
Kyler just has like the lowest rate of turnover worthy paths in the league.
Really.
Yeah,
Really?
he is playing better than his peak, and he was
Wow.
an MVP candidate at his peak. He should be, and his case is also he's doing it with plumbers and garbage men for a defense. And outside of Paris Jones Jr., it's not like they have a good offensive line either.
Yeah. My thesis is with Lamar, Josh, and Mahomes in the mix. It's a 3-man race, I think,
Yeah, I just
because
want
those
to have
guys
a
are
fun one.
understood to be the best quarterbacks. They're understood, and
So
and
you take a normal one, I'll take a long shot. That's what
yeah,
we'll do.
I say Mahomes gets it if it's
Okay.
not Lamar.
OPOY.
OPOY,
Derrick Henry minus 140.
it is
right
going
now
to go
your-
to Mr. Saquon Barkley.
Checks out. I don't have a long shot, but if somebody does cuck Lamar for MVP, he's a weird spot.
Oh,
his-
that's a fun one.
His number is he's
That's
like
a
fifth
really fun
favorite
one.
because he's the MVP favorite. And I don't think people love that voting for both anymore. It has happened, but I think in today's NFL with today's voters, they're probably discouraged from doing that as well.
That's a fun one.
So if Lamar misses MVP, he's 13-1. And I think, if he has a bunch of rushing touchdowns late, even if he is the wild card and he has all these numbers to go with it, I think that's a nice look too.
That's a fun one, man. Okay. The
Jane Daniels minus 1,200.
Drake May, 25-1. He plays well enough down the stretch that people are like, wait, the Patriots are feisty. And it's because
you know what? At FanDuel, he's 75-1.
Drake May is?
He's not good, Drew. He's not good at quarterback.
Hey, I don't disagree, but he's.
I think that's it's the money ball. Like, hey, he's a quarterback, and you got to.
He's a quarterback. You got to pick somebody.
His only flaw is that he sucks donkey dick. He's your right now. He's your he's better than Brissett, I guess, but he's in the Daniel Jones spot on for EPA.
Is he?
I would if you made me take a quarterback not named Daniels, it's Bo Nix, over May, just for getting a wild card after what that team went through the last couple of years. Jaden Daniels has to get hurt.
I see. I have Drake May over Bo Nix right now for EPA per dropback.
You're right in that spot. Neither of them's good, but it's going to be the team success.
Yeah. Okay.
May's just not going to win any games. It's hard to give it to hey, this guy won 3 games. It's a lot easier to be like, hey, this is a 10-7 team.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, they're both your 25th best quarterback.
DPOI does not go to TJ Watt. It goes to
Oh man.
Chris Jones.
Yeah, he's your second favorite. I don't
Is
think
he?
Hendrickson is. Yeah, he's 9-1 though. It's not like second favorite 4-1. He's 9-1. I'm just looking at FanDuel right now.
It's so hard to
Um,
make a case for anyone else right now.
Somebody
Even
who's
though
a
I really
secondary
want to.
piece would have to get some like Xavier
Nick
McKinney
Bosa.
has so many interceptions, and he's like 10th, 15th favorite.
Hey, without looking, you ready? Top 5 in quarterback pressures this year are Daniel Hunter, number 1.
Okay.
Trey Hendrickson, number 2. Myles Garrett, number 3. Nick Bosa, number 4. I will give you 500 guesses at who the 5th is.
Dennis Gardick.
No, incorrect.
God, it's like a secondary piece or something silly.
It's
isn't it?
not. It's not.
Okay. Joshua Hines Allen.
He is number 8.
Oh,
The aforementioned Will McDonald is number 7. The
Oh my
deep
gosh.
Roy leader, Jared Verse, is number 6.
is it Jonathan Grenard?
Grenard is number 13.
He's been really good for
He
Minnesota.
has, yeah.
Verse. I mean, just Jared Verse.
Verse is 6th. He's
People in the
6th.
chat are asking Verse. I
Verse
give up.
is 6th.
Is it still Hutch?
Hutch is not. And
Oh
he-
God! I
he's-
thought that was the trick question.
Hutch is 30th now. He's slid
Okay.
all the way to 30th. He's been run down at long last. I have not seen it in the chat either. That has not been guessed yet.
Vita Vea. I'm gonna guess big DTs now, run stoppers instead. Zach
Mm-mm.
Seiler.
Mm-mm. No.
I'm just thinking of names that have come up. Jalen Carter's had a good year.
You want a clue?
Pulls-
You ready for a clue?
Yes, I'll take a clue.
He is a previous award winner.
So you're saying he won defensive rookie of the year. Will Anderson doesn't strike me as somebody who's that high in pressure rates. Won it 2 years ago. That was Sauce.
Will Anderson is
Dexy
11th.
Dexy.
No. Dexter is 29th.
Oof. Oof. Chase Young. Saints.
No. Oh, it's
I
Chase
lied.
Young. Yes, it's Chase
Is it?
Young. It is
Chase
Chase Young. It's Chase
I was just going through awards. I was
It's Chase
working
Young.
backwards.
Young. It is Chase Young. He has
Haven't
46 pressures.
How many
Somehow.
sacks though? Like 4?
3.
Wow.
His
Not
conversion
converting.
rate is not good. It is very,
Honestly.
very poor. He has the worst conversion rate of anyone that's even close to the
I
top.
never know if this is the worst content we could possibly make or the best. I love the guessing games. I enjoy them.
I forgot he was in the league. I was like, Chase Young, did he get traded at the trade deadline? Has he just been IR'd? What is he doing?
It
No,
did take me
apparently
a
he
second to
is-
remember what team
Chase Young
he was on.
he has played 10 games. You want to know a funny wrinkle, Andy? He's played in 10 games. He is credited with 0 starts this year. He is
He's
not.
a rotational piece.
He is a rotational piece, and yet he has 46 pressures on 278 pass rushes. His snap count is enormously high. He's at 425
We
snaps.
got so off base. You said Chris Jones.
Yeah, Chris Jones' counting stats are so bad. I don't know if he's really going to get considered. He's 28.
I guess a fun one would be the Niners defense picks up and like Bosa.
Fred Warner, Bert
but-
Bosa,
Man.
Brian Branch of the Lions.
Branch or McKinney would need to house a couple touchdowns.
Has a couple touchdowns, yeah. I don't even know who the candidate for the Chargers would be.
Mac, the guy we just talked about barely playing.
I guess. The Pacers need to pull their shit together. What's going on? By the way, Franz Wagner, most improved player. It's gonna happen, and it's gonna get real serious.
The German.
Buckle the fuck up.
Chris Jones does have a Christmas game. That's an
He
interesting
does.
point. Like if he has a
And it's
4-sack
against
game,
Russell Wilson. And a backup
Would
center.
would the voters give it to him just for injuring a person that's cringy?
He has 2 standalone games because they play the Texans on the Saturday before.
Yeah.
So Chris Jones can do this. We can do this. It's not too late, but it probably is.
All right. Anyone but Verse.
Anyone but Verse. It's going to Cooper DeJean because Sam's been making jokes about it all year, and that would just be funny. Yes, I don't know if he actually bet it or if he was just making jokes. But Cooper DeJean carries the Eagles, playing the star position for the Eagles in the Fangio defense.
I think even though it has gone to edge rushers who have been on defenses that aren't great at times, if it isn't Verse, it probably is like, and I'll go with Quinion. I'll pick the other corner. It has to be like this guy is a difference maker on a defense that looks really good right now. But I think either DeJean or Mitchell has to have some, a bunch of picks, a bunch of splash plays, maybe a touchdown. Same goes with Lassiter, and then his injury isn't helping.
By the way, we didn't mention TJ Watt. You didn't guess TJ Watt in the pressure count. He's 38 right now.
But he's also his like pressure to sack ratio is like 0.9.
Impossibly high. It's quite high. All right. Coach of the year doesn't go to Dan Quinn. This is the toughest one. It could go in a million different directions still. I think this is the most clearly, and the odds support this, I think, but this is the most wide open. I'm going to say,
I want to do mine.
I'm going to give it to, okay, you go first.
Harbaugh.
Campbell.
New Harbaugh.
Man
New
Campbell.
Old Harbaugh. Yeah.
Man Campbell.
I like that. I liked him last year. I don't understand why he didn't get as much love for.
I actually, if you said you have to make a bet on an NFL award market right this second, I'm probably betting Man Campbell Coach of the Year.
I think I'm betting Harbaugh at a little bigger price. Dan Campbell's expectations are so high. Harbaugh's were lower. Tomlin, this could be just if they win the division, I think it's awful hard not to give it to him, especially now that Quinn looks less likely to win the division. If you bet the Eagles this week, I think you should probably take a hard look at Harbaugh, Tomlin, Campbell.
Oh, Dan Quinn isn't even the favorite everywhere.
I mean, it's close.
Yikes.
Well, they lost 2 games. Comeback player of the year. Do we just say fuck?
If it doesn't go to Kirk Cousins, it goes to Nick Chubb. Right?
You know who the favorites are out behind Kirk Cousins right now?
DeMar Hamlin.
Burrow is second, plus 220.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't even really think of him in that. He's just injured a little bit every year. That's interesting. Kyler is 9-1.
Didn't he come back last year?
Yeah, but he missed a big chunk of last year.
The beginning.
So that one doesn't make sense. J.K. Dobbins is your next one. Nobody's voting for J.K. Dobbins.
No.
But also DeMar Hamlin and Aaron Rodgers being 4th and 5th. Like Nick Chubb is 29-1.
I guess who's betting DeMar Hamlin? Is that possible?
No. He was fine last year. He was a healthy scratch a couple of games. Chubb's 29-1 where I'm looking. I could get down with that, but yeah, it'd be. I don't understand Kyler being in this. Like he came back and played last year. I don't love that.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right at all.
This is a very hard one, and it's not a market you should be betting ever anyway.
No, I forgot it even exists, honestly.
Just leaving it be.
Yeah, really more interested in who's going to win the deep divies because there's some very, very highly contested categories. The divies are going to be intense.
30-way tie for worst coaches challenge. Every week it feels like you say that to the TV. How many of you talk to the TV? I know you do. I do. My wife gets mad at me. They can't hear you.
You're spoiling good material, man. Let's just do a card that has every single play, all of the plays, every single coach's challenge that was done all year.
Remember the montage I had of all the fired coaches? We'll do that for challenges, and they'll just be 3 minutes of yakety.
This one was terrible. This one was terrible.
And whatever the opera thing is from Curb.
That's good.
Yeah, the divies. We'll
The
be
Dabbies. All right.
summing.
Well,
Chubb needs some big games.
Let's call it. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, me
Good
too.
job. 6 o'clock here. 8 o'clock here, Pelly.
Yeah,
your
how
time.
this we didn't go for 2 hours. How'd this go?
Yeah,
so-
I got us late.
I
got
know,
us a
I'm
late
doing
start.
shit.
That's on me. All right, well, let's call it.
Appreciate the comments. You guys in the chat. We're great today. Give yourselves a hand.
You guys were great today. Prophet X.